Okay, buckle up, because today we're diving into vector space models,
Yeah.
which I gotta admit sounded kind of intimidating at first, but it turns out it's revolutionizing how search engines, like, understand us. Imagine getting those search results that actually get what you mean,
Right.
not just what you literally typed.
Exactly.
That's the magic we're going to unpack today.
Yeah, what's fascinating is it's almost like holding up a mirror to our own thought processes. Because our brains, they don't just see words in isolation.
Right.
Right? We group synonyms together, we understand relationships.
For you?
Vector space models, they map this entire linguistic galaxy, which helps search engines grasp context like never before.
So we're basically teaching search engines to think more like humans.
In essence, yeah.
Sign me up. Especially, you shared some seriously interesting articles, research on this.
Yeah.
Even like a peek into how Market Brew, the SEO tool, is using all this.
Yeah, they're really on the cutting edge.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is a vector space model?
So picture this. Every web page is like a point in space.
Okay.
Kind of like stars in the sky, right?
Okay.
The closer those points are clustered together, the more similar their content is. So like best coffee beans and top-rated coffee roasters, those two would be hanging out pretty close to each other in our vector space.
Okay.
While coffee stain removal is off in its own little distant corner.
It's in a different galaxy.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to the picture. So it's more than just like grouping similar pages together though, right? It's about how this actually helps search engines figure out what's relevant.
You got it. It's about measuring the distance between those points in space. And this is where it gets really powerful, because we're going beyond just matching keywords.
Okay.
Right. Search engines can actually analyze entire sentences.
Wow.
And grasp the meaning behind a search thanks to algorithms like Sentence BERT.
Sentence BERT.
That one's a game changer. Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's going on my SEO radar.
It should be.
But okay, let's talk about why you should care.
Right.
It's not just about search engines getting smarter.
Right.
It's about what this means for your website.
Absolutely. Remember the days of like the clunky search results?
Oh, yeah.
Where you'd type in, I don't know, best bass guitar and you get a list of fishing gear?
Ugh, the worst.
That's the worst. Right. Because the old system relied solely on matching keywords, which was really frustrating. Vector space models, they changed the game.
Okay.
They factor in context, so all of those irrelevant results become a thing of the past.
It's like that collective sigh of relief you hear across the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
When the search engine finally gets you.
It
understands.
It understands.
And this is what it boils down to for anyone with a website. This equals a better user experience. People are more likely to find your content when they're searching for something that's actually related. They're going to spend more time on your page. Ultimately, they're going to send those positive signals back to Google that your site is the real deal.
Which is what we all want. We want people to see the amazing content
that we're putting out there. But how does this actually work in practice?
Right.
What are some of the techniques that are powering these vector space models?
So there are a few key players to know. One you might have heard of is TF-IDF. Okay, so let's say you're writing about ethically sourced coffee. Now, the word coffee on its own, it's everywhere online, right?
Right.
Not that helpful for SEO.
Yeah.
But what if you dig deeper? What if you use direct trade coffee or fair trade certification? TF-IDF helps identify these, what I like to call golden nugget keywords, terms that are relevant to your content, but not super common across the entire internet.
So it's not just about using a word a bunch of times.
Right.
It's about using the right words.
Absolutely.
Like finding that sweet spot between relevance and uniqueness. Okay, this is making me think I really need to step up my keyword game.
You and me both. But really, this is where understanding these techniques gives you such a leg up.
Yeah.
Think of TF-IDF as something that highlights those unique facets of your content, which helps you stand out from the crowd. But that's not the only tool in the box, right? We've got something called cosine similarity.
Cosine similarity.
Okay, it sounds very mathy.
It does.
But it's so useful for understanding how similar two pieces of content actually are.
Okay, so if TF-IDF is finding those distinct keywords, cosine similarity is like measuring how much two web pages overlap.
You got it.
In terms of their topics, their themes.
Okay. That's a great way to put it. And that's essential for search engines
Okay.
because it helps them avoid showing users like the same content over and over.
Right, duplicate content.
Exactly. They can identify the pages that
Okay.
are all covering very similar ground
Hmm.
and then prioritize the one that's the most authoritative or comprehensive.
Makes sense. No one wants to wade through all those, like, same results.
Exactly. And we're just scratching the surface here.
Okay.
We have another one,
Okay.
LSI,
LSI.
or Latent Semantic Indexing.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting because LSI helps search engines understand the implied relationships between words,
Okay.
even if they're not explicitly stated.
So you're teaching a search engine to, like, read between the lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me more.
So let's say you're writing about the best apple pie recipe, right? LSI allows those search engines to then connect your content with searches for apple desserts, baking tips, maybe even fall recipes, even if you don't have those exact phrases in your text.
Wow.
It's about understanding that broader context, that semantic web surrounding those core concepts.
It's next level analysis.
It is.
You're giving these search engines a crash course in human intuition. I'm seeing how this can be such a game changer for content creation. But language can be messy.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. We've got synonyms, we've got slang that changes faster than you can say algorithm. So how do vector space models handle all of that?
That's an excellent point, and it really highlights how adaptable these models have had to become. They need to evolve alongside this ever-changing landscape of human language.
Right.
So, for example, we have these things called word embeddings.
Word embeddings, okay.
It's a way of representing words as vectors that capture their relationships and meanings. This is how VSMs tackle synonyms.
Okay, so if I search for cheap flights and someone else searches for, like, affordable airfare, the VSM understands those are basically the same idea.
Yeah, exactly. And these models are constantly being fed new data to keep pace with how quickly language evolves.
Right.
Because new words are popping up, old ones take on new meanings.
Yeah.
VSMs need to be agile enough to keep up. But what about typos?
Oh, that's what I was thinking about because, like, we've all been there. You're furiously hitting backspace
Absolutely.
after your typo-ridden search.
Yeah.
So how do VSMs handle that?
They have to be pretty clever about it.
Okay.
One trick they use is something called edit distance. So imagine measuring how many keystrokes it takes to go from TYOP to TYPO. Okay.
That's essentially what edit distance does. It helps the model understand that based on everything else in the search, te probably means the.
It's like the model is thinking, okay, they might not be a spelling bee champion,
Right. Exactly.
but I get what they're going for.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
It's about looking at the bigger picture
Yeah.
and not getting hung up on those minor inconsistencies. And VSMs can even use these things called statistical language models to predict the most likely word in a sequence,
Wow.
even if there's a typo. So even your worst spelling errors might not totally derail your search.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
These vector space models are doing so much behind the scenes.
They are.
But with all this talk about AI,
Yeah.
I'm curious how they kind of stack up against that AI hype train.
Are they competitors? Are they collaborators? What's going on?
It's a good question, and it's a question that a lot of people are asking these days. But it's important to remember they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they can be super powerful when they work together.
Okay, so it's not an either-or situation?
Not at all.
Okay.
Think of VSMs like the foundation of a house.
Okay.
They provide that solid framework for understanding language.
Yeah.
AI is more like the interior design, you
Right.
know?
Okay.
It's adding those layers of complexity and personalization on top.
I like that analogy. So VSMs excel at understanding, like, the relationships between words
Yes.
and documents, which is so crucial for search. But AI can take that understanding even further, right?
Yeah, AI is great at adapting to new data. And it's good at making those complex connections that VSMs sometimes struggle with.
Right.
However, VSMs have a leg up when it comes to scalability.
The scalability.
Yeah, their ability to handle massive amounts of data.
Right, because we're not talking about a couple thousand documents here.
Yeah.
This is like billions of web pages.
Billions, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and while AI is making strides in scalability, VSMs still have a pretty significant lead in that area.
Sure.
So rather than viewing them as competitors, I think we're starting to see them work more in this collaborative way.
So it's more about finding the best of both worlds
Right.
and figuring out how they can complement each other.
Yeah, exactly. And we're already seeing this. We see this happening with features like personalized search results, where AI is used to tailor those results based on like your past behavior, building upon that initial understanding of language and relevance
Right.
that's provided by those VSMs.
So the future of search might literally be a blend of these powerful technologies,
Yeah,
each playing to its strengths.
I think so.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's bring it back to the here and now. One of the sources that you shared, it gave us a glimpse into how Market Brew, that SEO tool we talked about,
Yes.
is already using VSMs
Yes.
to make a difference for people.
Yeah, they're doing some really interesting stuff over at Market Brew. It's a great example of how these really complex concepts are actually being translated into practical tools that you can use for everyday SEO.
Right. And they specifically mentioned like using something called the Lucene query parser
Yeah.
for those of us who aren't like, coding wizards.
Right.
What does that even mean?
So think of the Lucene query parser as like this super powered magnifying glass
Okay.
for search queries.
Okay.
It can break a user's search down into these individual parts, identify the most important elements, and then, you guessed it, use vector space models to compare those elements to the content on different web pages.
Okay.
So it's all about understanding those nuances and the intent behind those searches.
So it's like having this direct line into the brain of a search engine,
Essentially, yes.
which is kind of scary,
A little bit, right.
but cool.
Very cool. And by using vector space models, that Lucene query parser can actually see those crucial relationships between the different parts of a search. It's not just about matching keywords word for word.
Right.
It's about grasping that underlying meaning.
It's like it's reading between the lines
Yes.
of our searches.
It is?
Okay, but Market Brew doesn't stop there. They also have this thing called heading vectors.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. Sounds so intriguing.
This is really where they shine, I think.
Okay.
So think about how we as humans, when we land on a web page, often we scan the page before we really commit to reading it.
Right.
We're looking at those headings.
Right. We look at the headings and subheadings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To get a sense of what we're about to read.
Yes.
Market Brew's heading vectors algorithm does something remarkably similar.
Okay, I'm hooked. So it's like they're giving these search engines X-ray vision
Essentially, yes.
for our web pages.
Yes. This algorithm analyzes those headings and subheadings and, you guessed it, uses vector space models to then assess how relevant they are to a specific search.
So that relevance plays a role in where a page ranks in those search results.
Big time. Yes.
Okay.
By understanding the structure and the hierarchy of your content, search engines can do a much better job of actually connecting users with the most relevant information,
Right.
guiding them toward that content that's actually going to satisfy their search intent.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like these vector space models are like bridging this gap between how we naturally read as humans
Right.
and how these search engines are like interpreting that information.
Exactly. And it really underscores how crucial it is to optimize for these models. And it goes way beyond just stuffing keywords into your content.
Right.
It's about creating content that is informative, that's engaging, and that's structured in a way that is both logical for a human,
Right.
but also digestible by a search engine.
So it's not just what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly.
It's crafting that content that aligns with how people are searching for and then consuming information online.
Yes. And as these vector space models continue to evolve, become even more sophisticated, I think that emphasis on creating really valuable user-focused content is only going to become that much more important.
This is making me rethink my content strategy, but that's okay.
Good.
That's why we're here, right? We're entering this new era of SEO where understanding these models and how they work is no longer a bonus. It's essential.
It is. It's not enough to just chase algorithms or rely on those like spammy tactics.
Yeah.
The key to success in this new world of SEO is to embrace a deeper understanding of how language works, how context influences interpretation, and how to align your content with what the user actually wants to see.
And that's where these vector space models come in.
Exactly.
They're giving us that glimpse into how search engines are learning to think more like humans.
Yeah, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful knowledge to have.
It is. It really is.
So it's about working with these models,
Yes.
not against them.
100%.
It's about using that knowledge of how it works
Yeah.
to craft better content. That's informative. That's engaging.
Yeah.
That aligns with what users are looking for. This has been really eye-opening. I feel like my SEO knowledge has just like leveled up.
I love to hear that.
just by having this conversation.
It's a complex topic, but
Yeah.
understanding, like you said, understanding even just the fundamentals of how these models work can make a world of difference.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
one key takeaway for our listeners.
Okay.
If they could walk away from this deep dive and apply one thing
Right.
to their SEO strategies, what would it be?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is to shift your mindset
Okay.
from simply targeting keywords to really zeroing in on user intent.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what questions are my readers actually asking?
Right.
What problems are they trying to solve?
Put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly.
Create content that speaks to that.
And by understanding how these vector space models operate,
Yeah.
you can create content that is not only relevant to those needs,
Right.
but it's also structured in a way that, like we talked about, resonates with how search engines interpret
Okay.
and ultimately reward valuable information.
This has been an amazing deep dive into this world
Yeah.
of vector space models.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
And how they're shaping the future of SEO. We covered so much.
We did, from the technical underpinnings to how these tools like Market Brew are really bringing these concepts to life.
And I think the main takeaway is SEO is no longer about keywords.
No.
It's about understanding the nuances of language,
Yes.
the importance of context, and how to craft content that really connects with human readers and those ever-evolving algorithms that are powering online search.
Yeah. And I think, as these technologies keep evolving at this incredible pace, it's the people who embrace this deeper understanding
Right.
of how search engines work.
Right.
Particularly that ability to process and interpret language.
Yes.
They're going to be the ones who thrive in this online landscape.
So to our listeners, the next time that you are writing a blog post,
Right.
optimizing a web page, even just typing in a search query,
Yeah.
take a moment to really appreciate the power of these vector space models working behind the scenes.
They're doing a lot.
They are constantly striving to connect you with the information that you need. And by understanding how they operate, you can make sure that your content is part of that connection.
100%.
Awesome. Well, this has been great.
It has.
Thank you so much for diving into this with me.
Yeah, of course. This was fun.
I'm so glad that we got to do this deep dive.
Me too.
And we will be back next time with another deep dive.
And that leads to kind of an interesting question. If search engines are getting so good at understanding what we mean, how is that going to change how we actually write for the web?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If we don't have to, cram keywords
Right.
into every other sentence, will SEO even be a thing?
I think it's going to look different. I don't know about, not a thing.
Yeah.
Keywords are always going to be important,
Right.
but it'll be less about, cramming them in and more about just naturally incorporating the language that your audience actually uses.
Okay.
I think we might even see a shift toward longer form content that answers a wider range of those related questions.
Okay.
Almost like building a mini encyclopedia
Interesting.
around a specific topic.
So instead of chasing that one keyword,
Right.
you want to create content that's a one-stop shop for anyone who is interested in that broader subject.
Exactly.
Which makes sense, especially with how search engines are getting better at understanding those relationships.
Exactly. And this is where things get interesting with, we were talking about Market Brew.
Yes.
And those heading vectors.
Yeah.
Because they figured out a way to give search engines almost like a little glimpse into the structure and the hierarchy of your content, giving them an outline.
Wait, hold on. So Market Brew can show a search engine what's most important on a page
Yeah.
just by analyzing the headings.
Pretty much.
That's some next level stuff. How does that even work?
So remember how we were talking about cosine similarity
Yeah.
and how it measures how similar two documents are?
Right.
So they're applying a similar concept, but to the headings.
Okay.
Their algorithm analyzes those words used in your headings and subheadings,
Okay.
and it creates kind of like a fingerprint for each section of your content.
Okay.
And then when somebody searches for something related,
Right.
that algorithm can see,
Yeah.
does your page have a heading that closely matches
Wow.
what they're looking for?
Okay, so if I'm writing a blog post about the ultimate guide to French press coffee, and I have this clear subheading that's specifically about grinding beans for French press,
Right.
Market Brew's algorithm will make that connection when someone searches best grind size for French press.
Exactly. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Because it helps those search engines understand your content isn't just generally about coffee.
Yeah, it's very specific.
It's diving deep into those specifics that the searcher actually wants.
It's like you're saying, hey, search engine,
I got what you need
we have exactly what you need.
right here.
And it's laid out in this really nice way.
In a way you'll understand.
You don't have to guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's not only good for search engines,
Right.
but that clear, organized structure, that's something that users really like.
Sure. Makes it easier to read.
It's easier for them to find what they're looking for quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, but going back to this whole like search engines becoming more human-like,
Right.
we've talked a lot about text.
We have.
What about images, videos, audio? How are VSMs handling all of that?
That's where it gets a little more complicated.
Okay.
The traditional VSMs, the ones we've been talking about that focus on text, they struggle a bit with like the nuances
Okay.
of like visual or audio content. That's where AI is playing a bigger role.
Okay.
There have been a ton of strides in developing AI models that can understand images, videos. They can identify objects, even emotions.
So we might get to a point where search results are taking into account like the mood or the feeling
Yeah,
that a video conveys, not just the words that are being spoken.
absolutely. And I think that's the direction it's heading. We're still in those early stages.
Sure.
But it's exciting to think about. Imagine being able to search for, like, relaxing travel vlog.
Right.
And the search engine wouldn't just understand relaxing travel,
All right.
but it could actually see those visual cues, the pacing
Yeah.
that contributes to that feeling.
That's wild.
That's
Okay.
all.
It's like search engines are evolving
They have to.
alongside content.
Yeah.
They have to become more sophisticated because we keep finding new ways to communicate online.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to a really important point about some of the limitations of these VSMs.
Okay.
While they're awesome at understanding these patterns,
Right.
in data that already exists, they're not so great at handling things that are totally new or unexpected.
Right.
They rely on that existing data to build their understanding.
Right.
So when it comes to brand new concepts, emerging trends,
Yeah.
VSMs can lag behind a little bit.
So if I'm writing about like this cutting edge technology that's just starting to gain some traction,
Yeah.
the VSMs might not be able to make all those connections because they haven't seen enough examples of it yet.
Right. They haven't been trained on it. That's the challenge, and that's where AI comes in.
Oh.
Because those AI models, particularly those that use deep learning, they're much better at adapting to new info,
Okay.
making these inferences based on limited data so they can actually see patterns
Okay.
that those VSMs might miss.
Right.
And they can start to kind of piece together an understanding
Okay.
of these newer concepts.
So it's like having like a team of superpowered detectives
Yeah, I love that.
working behind the scenes.
Yes.
VSMs are like the methodical investigators.
Yes.
They're following the established trails.
Yeah.
But AI is that detective that's like, I've got this gut feeling.
What's going on here?
I'm seeing the connections.
Yes.
I'm going to crack this case wide open.
Love it.
Okay.
And the exciting part is we're already seeing those two approaches combined
Okay.
in really cool ways. For example, some search engines now use AI to personalize those search results
Oh.
based on like your past behavior, your interests, even like your current location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's getting very granular.
So the future of search might not be about finding the one right answer.
Right.
It's about finding the most relevant answer for you.
The perfect answer for each person.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's happening because of both of these things.
Exactly. They're both like pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
of what we thought was possible with search.
This is blowing my mind a little bit.
Yeah,
It's like we're really on the cusp of this whole new era
I think so.
where it's not even human versus machine anymore.
Right. It's all blurred.
It's like this blend.
It is.
Okay, but with all this talk about algorithms and models,
Right.
it's important to remember there are actual humans
Real people.
behind these searches.
Yes, 100%. I think it's easy to get lost in the weeds
Yeah.
and all the technical stuff, but at the end of the day, SEO is really just about connecting with other humans.
Right. It's about understanding them,
Yes.
their needs, their wants.
Understanding their problems, their aspirations.
Yeah.
And then creating something that connects.
Right. You can't lose that human element.
No, you can't fake it.
No.
You can't game the system. You have to actually create something.
It's not enough to just speak the language of the algorithm.
Right.
We have to speak the language of our people.
100%. And I think that's why storytelling
Yeah.
that emotional intelligence, being able to create content that really, truly connects with people
Right.
on a human level will never go out of style.
We're not abandoning our humanity in favor of robots, right?
I hope not.
I thought that.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Using the tools to make our message better.
100%. I love that. It's about using these insights, these amazing technological advancements to actually guide how we create things.
Yeah.
To make sure we're crafting stories that really resonate, answering those late night questions that people have,
Yes.
and ultimately making some kind of a difference.
It's not just about ranking higher.
No.
It's about using that to actually make some good stuff happen in the world.
I love that. It's a really powerful way to think about it.
This is blowing my mind. I'm going from intimidated by these vector space models
Right.
to like, oh, this is cool.
I'm glad. That's what I like to hear. I think, it's definitely a complex field, but once you kind of peel back those layers
Yeah.
and you understand what's going on underneath it all,
Right.
it becomes less about memorizing algorithms and more about, appreciating
Yeah.
how this is all connected.
Language, search, human connection.
It's all related.
It's all related.
It is.
And that's what I love about doing these deep dives.
Me too.
It's about taking these topics that seem so complex,
Right.
but breaking them down in a way that hopefully is insightful
Yeah.
and helps people understand them a little bit better.
Totally. And, speaking of shedding some light on things, there's this whole other fascinating aspect of VSMs and how they're being used.
Okay. Okay, so we've talked about how VSMs are changing how search engines understand text. But what about all the other stuff?
Right.
That's not words. Images, videos, audio clips.
Yeah.
How are VSMs being used to make sense of all of that?
So that's where things get really, really interesting.
Okay.
One of the most exciting developments is what we call multimodal vector space models.
Multimodal. Okay, that sounds kind of cool. Break that down.
So imagine a search engine that doesn't just read your query,
Okay.
but it also sees the images that you've uploaded or hears an audio clip that you recorded.
Wow.
That's essentially what multimodal VSMs are trying to do.
Okay.
They can analyze and understand information from multiple sources.
Not just text. Not just text.
So instead of treating like the different types of content as these separate things,
Yes.
these multimodal models are like connecting the dots
Exactly.
between them.
Let's say you're searching for recipes with turmeric.
Okay.
A multimodal VSM could analyze not just the text of those recipes,
Right.
but also the images.
Okay.
It could identify images that have turmeric in them, but also other ingredients that are often used in the same dish.
Okay.
So like lentils or coconut milk. So even if a recipe doesn't say turmeric lentil soup
Right.
in the title, the model could still be like, oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I got you.
Yeah.
Based on what's in the picture.
Exactly. And that's powerful because it opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Imagine searching for a specific style of furniture
Okay.
by just uploading a picture of a room that you like.
Oh, wow.
Or finding a song by just humming it into your phone.
So we're moving beyond keywords
We are.
into this like sensory search
Yes.
where we're using images, sounds, videos to say what we mean.
100%. And this is really where AI comes in.
Okay.
Because like we said, those traditional VSMs that are just based on text, they can't really understand these more subtle forms of data. AI models, especially ones that use deep learning, those are better equipped
Right.
to deal with how complicated those visuals and their audio information are.
So we're seeing like a combination
Yeah.
of all these really cool technologies.
100%.
Okay, so with all of these advancements, what does this mean for SEO? Like, where are we going?
The million-dollar question.
I know, right?
No one knows for sure.
Okay.
But I think we can all agree that SEO has to evolve alongside these technologies.
Okay.
It's not enough to just optimize for keywords anymore.
Okay.
We have to optimize for intent, for engagement,
Right.
for that seamless user experience, no matter what device someone's using.
So it's not just about getting someone to your site.
No.
It's about keeping them there.
Keep them engaged, keep them happy.
Give them good content, whether that's text or images or videos.
Yeah, it's all content, right?
Right. And that brings us back to, like, knowing your audience.
Yes.
That's so crucial.
Because, no matter how smart these technologies get, they're only as good as the information we feed into them.
Right.
And where does that information come from?
from the people.
Exactly. From your audience, their behavior, what they search for, all of it.
So the key to all of this is stay curious, learn about those people,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to try new things, to like connect with them.
100%. That's the beauty of all of this. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover.
This has been quite the journey.
It has.
I feel like we've gone from like VSM 101
Right.
to like the crazy future of AI.
The cutting edge.
I'm a little overwhelmed, but in a
No.
good way.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. It is.
But remember, you don't have to be a master at all of this, like tomorrow.
That's good because I don't think I can.
Start with the basics, experiment. Don't be afraid to mess it up a little bit.
Right. Learn as you go.
Exactly.
Okay. So for our listeners who want to like dive in, learn a little bit more about vector space models, how they can actually use them for their SEO.
Yeah.
What are like some good places for them to go?
There are some awesome free resources online.
Okay.
You can check out the Google AI blog.
Okay.
They always have the latest and greatest in AI and machine learning.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's Moz blog and Search Engine Journal. Those are great resources for all things SEO.
Those are classics. Those are good. And of course, for our listeners that want to get a little bit more hands-on, you've got tools like Market Brew
Absolutely.
that can actually help you use all this cool stuff.
They're making it happen.
Yeah. Okay. This has been amazing.
It has.
If there's one thing that I want our listeners to walk away with today,
Yeah.
the future of search, it's about humans.
100%.
It's about connecting
Yes.
with people on a deeper level.
We can't lose sight of that.
As technology gets more and more advanced,
You're right.
we have to hold on to that human element.
It's what makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that note,
Yeah.
to our listeners, as you go out and navigate this crazy world of SEO, stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay human.
I love that.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.